I recently purchased my first high quality digital download, which was from the band Skillet, their album Awake from HDtracks.com. It's a 24-bit 96 kilohertz file, and I was on HDtracks Facebook page, and there was all this talk about like how 96 kilohertz and 24-bit has more depth and it sounds more realistic and all this other crap. And you know what I want to know? I want to know what the difference is scientifically between an HD track and one that is properly downconverted, downsampled to CD quality and even MP3 quality. So that's what we're going to see right here, because I want to filter through all the gunk, through all the hyperbole, and let's see what the reality is. Now, first of all, I need to load the file up to show you whether or not there are higher frequencies inside the file, because there is some up conversion going on with some of these albums. There was some of that going on. So this is the track, as you can see down here, 24-bit 96 kilohertz, or actually it says 96,000 hertz. And we're going to look at right here on the side. See this number right here, 30,000. This represents the frequency. I'm going to drag this over so we're only looking at the frequencies, and we're going to see, I'm zooming in, and we're going to see how high they go. On a CD, they would only go up to around a 21,000 to 22,000 mark. But as you can see, it goes higher. It's not a lot of data, but it's there. So we at least know that this is a genuine 96 kilohertz file. That's important to know. So let's get down to my sample rate converter, which is Voxengo Rate Brain. This is considered to be one of the highest quality sample rate converters that you can get. It's free, so anybody can download it, and you can test this theory out for yourself. So I'm going to load this in, and I'm going to fast forward the video so you don't have to watch me do all this stuff. But okay, I had to close my original program so that I could open this file. It wouldn't open otherwise. So yeah, this is the file we're using, and we're going to actually do a few different down samples or resamples. First, we're going to do the only sample rate we're going to do is 44100, which is CD quality, and we're going to do a 32-bit floating point for the bit depth and change the quality to very high. And we're going to call this first one, oh, I can't delete it. Okay. Neat. I guess I'll have to rename it here. Okay, so I'll change this to 32-441. And then I'll do my next one, which will be 24-bit. Again, very high quality. And 441. And rename it to 24-441. And finally, 16-bit, which is CD quality. Okay, so we have all our files now. I can close out of RateBrain. And I got to rename this so I know what it is. Okay, so Now we have 4 files. We have the original 2496. We have and then we had the down convert at 32-bit floating point, 24-bit, and 16-bit depth, all 44.1 kilohertz files. And now what I'm going to do is inside of my digital audio workstation program, I'm going to show you and do a test, which is called a polarity reversal test. And what this does is it'll show you any differences between files. So for example, this is my original. Actually, I didn't do this. Hold on. I need to change my sample rate to the higher one first. So I'm going to do that now. And I don't know if this makes a difference, but I always put this in 32-bit usually. And then my other thing that I need to do is make sure that my resampling, my real-time resampling is high quality. Which is right here, playback resample mode. I put it on best. And that's it. I should be good to drop this in. So what I'm going to do is drop this in first to show you what I'm talking about. So this is the original track. And now I'm going to duplicate it. And there's this option right here that says phase normal. Click that. Now it's phase inverted. And you will see that there's no audio going to play back because this is the exact same file. Again, differences are shown. If there are no differences, you don't hear anything. As you can see, the meter, the master meter is at negative infinity. So there's absolutely 0 differences because the files are exactly the same. So now I'm going to keep this open and drop our first file in. And before I do that, I'm going to load up some plugins that'll show us frequency response. Okay, so everything's set up now on my master channel. I have my master channel signal in the matrix. It is, it sounds funny, but that's what it's actually called, the routing matrix. And it is set up for channel average. All these are set to channels average. And this one is set as well. So track 1 is track 1, track 2 is track 2. And that'll be that. Oh, wait a minute. I can't do it this way. You know what? Hold on. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I should do it this way. I was just thinking that I would need to put the polarity reversal prior to this plugin, which I can do. But I think it should work out fine. It'll actually show me and enable me to see the difference a little bit easier as well. And the final one I'm going to pull up is another spectrum analyzer. Along with a gain plugin because I will need it. Okay, so I have FreeG, which is a very clean, pretty much you can't get any cleaner. It's a digital gain. And if I need to, I can flip the polarity, but I won't do it on this track. And then I have Frequency Analyzer, as well as another frequency analyzer plugin. And let's see what happens when I drop one of these resampled plugins in here. So this is the 32-bit, as you can see. And just to show you I'm not lying, I'm right-clicking source properties. And you can see bitrate 2496. And then on this next one is 32441. Ready? This is it. The moment of truth. Nothing. Negative 80 decibels. Negative. All right, we got some higher things now. Let's go to the middle of the song. Okay, so we have negative 30 decibels. There's something going on there. Let's see what's going on. Okay, it's all in the higher frequencies, as you can see there. And on Freak Analyst, I'll close the other tracks out. So that's the missing information between the two files. Can we hear it right now? No. If I gain this up, we should be able to, though. Not really. I don't really hear anything. I mean, I hear like little swishy things, but it's mostly just noise. All right, now I'm hearing something. If I turn my volume up, but that is, how much gain did I apply there? 36 decibels of gain. Is there a difference? Yes. Can you hear it? Is the question. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say 36 decibels buried inside of a mix is inaudible. Let's look at this once I gain it up. Now, again, if I play this without the gain on, look how low that is. And that's all in the upper frequencies where most of us can't hear, where most of our speakers can't even play back that range. But once I gain it up, again, all in the upper frequencies. And it's only until I boost the volume on my speakers that I can hear it. So yeah, that's the difference we're talking. Not much. Not audible. All right, so what I'm going to do next is load up the 24-bit track and do the same exact test. Again, source properties, 24441. Look at that. Now you want to talk about differences? That's the difference. But let's see what the similarities are. Exactly the same. Until you get to the upper frequencies right here. Oops. And then, even then, the difference is, if you look on the graph, let me freeze this. Let me do it when it's a little bit higher. So negative 60 decibels, which is, if you're listening to something, they had this thing with reverb. It's called RT60, and it means that once the reverb tail goes past negative 60 decibels from the original signal, it's inaudible. So this is inaudible. Not only if it was a more mid-range frequency would it be inaudible, because it's a higher frequency, because it's past 18 kilohertz, it's even less audible. Again, most speakers can't even play a track past about 16 kilohertz. Most of our hearing starts going away. 18 kilohertz, not really audible for a lot of us. 20 kilohertz, definitely not. Maybe babies can hear it. But realistically, even if we all had perfect hearing to 22 kilohertz, which is what 44.1 covers, this difference with the downsample version Nothing. You know? Okay, so next, the CD quality version. The track had differences. Let me show you what that would look like. Major differences. I just slid it over a little bit. Actually, I could even slide it over just a millisecond. Let me do that. So, 1 millisecond difference. Or did that do that? Let me make sure it did that. I didn't click it. I just want to make sure. Nudge right. And I will nudge this over in real time. Ready? So yeah, the differences, again, negligible. And finally, I'm going to make an MP3 and see what the difference is between the full 24-bit 96 kilohertz version and the MP3 version of this file. And for that, I'm going to drop in, by the way, okay, this is a batch file converter, and I will put it in this directory. And I'm going to use the floating point file. Make sure that this is set to, so there's nothing in the FX chain. I think there is right now. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to disable this. And MP3, I will do, actually I'll do two different versions. I'll do a 320 kilobits per second. I'm using the lame encoder. I don't know why it has question marks there, but, and I'll call this, all right, I'll just do this. 320. Again, we're going to compare this to the 96 kilohertz version. First, the 320 constant bit rate. There will be differences. I know this for a fact. So yeah, there's definitely a significant difference. And to have a more fair comparison, maybe drop the original, what it was encoded off of, into this and do a test that way as well. I'm going to make sure my transients are aligned. And they're not. Okay. The tracks were not aligned properly, and now they are. So that's actually what the difference maker was. Now they're a lot more aligned, as you can see. Wow. This is why you got to make sure everything's set up the exact same. So yes, there is quality loss with MP3. There's no point in even testing the other ones. But it's definitely a small difference, possibly also inaudible. That's the way MP3 works, is that, you know, the differences are hidden or would be hidden anyway. I'm curious to test the 96 kilohertz version now that it's more time aligned, and I'll look at this again. Okay, so that's what I want to show you guys. Now, what is the difference between HD tracks and CD quality? Well, it's not really necessarily the quality, because really CD quality isn't that bad. As a matter of fact, I think CD quality is the best distribution format you can get. Now, that's because, number one, the format's already there. 48 kilohertz would be a better sample rate to make sure that the ripple band that's what they call it. That's why you're getting the differences. That's still technically in the human hearing capabilities range, but it's so small that it might not even make a difference. So 48 kilohertz would be better. That's what DVD audio is. It's what Blu-ray and video audio, it's the default sample rate is 48 kilohertz, but 44.1 is not that bad, not at all. And as far as music, you know, it works fine. Lossless audio is definitely better, and you know, I'm glad we're seeing a shift to selling music that's lossless. But what do I think the difference is? What are people hearing that they may or may not know about? That the difference between what's put out on CD and what's put out, you know, on HDtracks website. Well, let's take a look here. You see these? This is called a waveform for the people that don't know. You see this waveform and how there's all the let's say when I have it selected, the green represents unused area, an unused part of the waveform. As you can see in the intro of the song, there's not really a lot on the right channel. This is the right channel, this is the left channel in stereo. As the song goes along, you can see there's a good amount. I mean, there's space. There is space. There's more space here when the song gets quieter. There's you know, you can see everything here when the track ends. Well, let me show you the CD version. Okay, so let's look at the difference here. See how the track has a lot less space? Yeah. The CD version is sonically compromised compared to the HDtracks version. All that lack of space, all that lack of green in the track below, in the CD track, which is this, represents smushed, a hyper compressed sound that when played back just sounds like a flat line. Music was meant to breathe. the track up here breathes a lot more. This is especially true with drums, and it's especially true with the bass guitar, which in this version, and I can't play it for copyright reasons, but the bass in the CD version versus this is a lot harder to hear. You know, you have to turn your subwoofer up louder, or just your volume up in general. It's not as clear as the FLAC, I'm calling it the free lossless audio code. That's the version I downloaded for this. But it's the this version that's on HDtracks website is a lot more dynamic. It sounds more like music should compared to the CD version. That's it. And a lot of tracks are like that. That's the depth you're hearing. And this could easily be on the CD, but they chose to smash it. The mastering engineer or the producer or the record company chose to make this version sound worse than this because of the loudness wars. And I already made a video about the loudness wars, but that's what I wanted to show you guys, that yes, there is a difference, but that's because the mastering was different. Maybe the mix was different as well, but we can see how just that's a flat line of audio, and even being zoomed out now to this range, we can see the gaps. And that's what we should see. And that's what we used to see in the 90s, in the 80s, when CD first came out in the 80s. It was even more space. I'm going to show you a few samples of that right now. I'm going to get rid of this and load up my my other tracks here and make a bunch of more space. This is the point I wanted to make about HDtracks and these audiophile quality websites, is that we're kind of being deceived. And it's pretty sad, actually. So I'm going to go back to 1986 when I was a youngster, a real youngster. And that's your tip. This is Metallica's Battery. Look at all that space. And that song really breathes. And then we'll go to 1989 now. Again, Metallica, For Whom the Bell Tolls. Look at that. Breathing very, very well. Now, do these recordings and mixes sound great? Not necessarily. But this is how they used to mix and master CDs. And then we're going to go to 1990 with Aerosmith's Ragdoll. Again, room to breathe. Dynamics. It's a beautiful thing, right? Now I'm going to show you 3 different Green Day songs. The first one's from 1995, Brain Stew. A lot more smashed, but it still breathes a little bit. It's flatlined, but there's gaps, even in that. But it's definitely, things have changed from 5 years. This is definitely brick wall limited by a digital limiter. You can see how everything's just lined up perfectly. And then Jaded, it's smushed, but we can still see gaps here and there. But it's definitely smashed. Now let's compare that to their 2009 release, where it's a lot harder to see them gaps. We have a breakdown portion of the song, the bridge or whatever, and we can actually see a lot more white space, or in this case, green space. But look at that. I mean, that's an abomination. Linkin Park. Oh, their track wasn't mastered as bad. Give them credit where it's due. That's really all I have to show you guys. If you want to watch my Loudness War video, I'll put a link in the video description. But bottom line is HDtracks, and I'm glad, but I wish you didn't have to pay a premium to get properly mastered tracks. But digital, better than vinyl. I know it's controversial to say that, but vinyl is an analog format, and it's got noise issues. It's got issues, every time you play the record, the next time you play it, it's not going to sound as good. Vinyl does not sound as good as digital can. Digital would sound better if the mastering engineers weren't smashing the living hell out of tracks like this. I mean, that's disgusting. Compare this again to the HDtracks version of Monster. Actually, I'll just compare Monster, the CD release, versus the HDtracks release. I mean, look at that. That's what you're hearing. You're hearing a better mastering job, a less compressed on the brick wall mastering job. This is what should be. This is it. This should be the release everybody gets to hear. I shouldn't have to pay $20, but whatever. I like this album. I like the music on it. I was tired of listening to it on YouTube at 240p, or even the CD quality versions. And when I found out from the dynamic range database that this was a more dynamic release, I bought it. I was curious at what it would sound like, and I bought it. So I'm happy I bought it, but we shouldn't have to pay a premium for properly mastered tracks, but hey, whatever. So yes, depending on the release. Now, that's the problem with HDtracks, is you don't know if you're going to get just a higher sample rate version of the hyper-compressed CD, or the hyper-compressed master, or if you're going to get something like this, which is what we should be getting everywhere. But anyway, I digress. I'm done talking. HDtracks, make sure, I kind of wish they had a preview. I kind of wish they would add a dynamic range database number to their selection, because I'll tell you, that's what made me buy it. I went on the dynamic range database. Somebody had uploaded that the HDtracks version is DR10 versus, I think it was DR6 or DR4. That's the rating number. The lower the number, the less the dynamic range. The higher the number, the more dynamic. So like battery would have like a DR of 18 or something. But yeah, anyway, that's why I bought it. Their marketing department should get on the dynamic range database and put every single release up on there and label it HDtracks version, and they would get more customers, because there are people out there who do care about this stuff. So that's it. This has been Adam for RealHomeRecording.com.